Hello, welcome to another exciting episode of Kopi with Vance. I was actually dancing, so that is why I wasn't really prepared. It was a 5 minutes. Usually, whenever it's off screen, it's off screen, it's not live. A lot of things happen behind the screen. The directors, or they always know that things happen. But right now, I'm the own director of my own show. Of course, with my guest speaker just waiting for me. Okay, let's not talk about the dance, but as usual, before we start our show, that's always the Kopi events. Thank you for joining us at Vans with Kopi events again. As you all know, today's topic is about substance abuse, and the reason why we wanted to do this topic is because I think it is very crucial as a country, not we were talking about overall the nation itself or the globe itself. I think it's very important about understanding the different type of drugs or even the substances that are available in the market, and it's just sometimes it's illegal. It's most of the time it's illegal. So we're gonna have a great discussion with, of course, with my guest speaker, who's a very regular guest speaker. In fact, he's a very well-known doctor as well, Dr. Arvinder Singh, HS. He's going to come on board in the next few minutes. But before that, I got a few messages that's already coming in. Thank you, Subha. Thank you so much for all joining in. I also can see that a lot of messages are coming as well. So thank you. If you do have any questions, please type in the comment, or if not, you can actually message us at a private message, right? You can do that. But before we even start the program, I'm just going to give a bit of credit to the Central Narcotics Bureau. Is in Singapore. We call them CNB. Just a little history about them. I think it's very important. They was established in 1971 as the primary drug enforcement agency, if I'm not saying it wrongly, with a clear focus mandate to keep Singapore safe and harms of drugs. And in 1994, the committee to improve the drug situation in Singapore was set up to look into the drug situation. It recommended a total and integrated approach to realize Singapore's strategies against drug abuse at the national level. I got to say this because I think it's very, very crucial as well. The four main strategies and prevention of drug education, rigorous enforcement, treatment and rehabilitation for drug abusers, and finally, aftercare, which is also very important right now. And these guys are doing a great job. Treatment, rehabilitation for drug abusers, and finally, in them accepting them back into the society, what we call the Yellow Ribbon Project, which I've seen it. Many many projects are happening beautifully, getting them a job, getting them into back into a career, and there are a lot of successful stories we can actually talk about. Great job, guys. The CNB took on the line of responsibility to prevention of drug education as well, in addition to drug enforcement. So we can see a lot of stuff that's happening in, particularly in Singapore as well. Just a little story back. When I was doing, I had an intern who's also is a Yellow Ribbon Project. Came back, and I think is very, very successful right now. I think there's a given an opportunity that people do make a change in the society as well. So today's topic, let's jump into the today's topic. We're going to talk a lot of these drugs that's in the sports arena, sports specific, and we also can use it the medicine. Certain medicine is also just not certain medicine, all medicines are drug as well. But if you misuse it, it also can give you a lot of problem. And then another main issue is, of course, the drugs that's been illegally been used, or trying to bring it to Singapore, or whatever the cases can be. So let's invite my guest speaker, Dr. Arvinder, on board. Dr. Arvinder.
Hi, good evening, Vance. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, viewers. Nice to be back on the show again. Hope you all are keeping
Doc, I
well.
mean, you don't need any introduction at this point of time, because I think if you're going to say that, then it's like a recorded, it's like a broken recorder, because you got to say that every time again. But I think it's very, very important before we start our show. I think your introduction is very crucial as well. And I thankfully, you as a regular speaker in Kopi, and so Doctor, please, your honor to do a quick introduction of yourself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Arvinder. I'm a medical officer by training. I've done my master's in health research, pursuing my PhD in the National University of Malaya in epidemiology and statistics, majoring in mental health, occupational health, and also some amount of sports medicine. My main area of interest is in diabetes and infectious diseases. So you see me talking a lot about COVID and how mental health has been affected, how psychiatric health has been affected by this whole pandemic. I've also done my diploma in football medicine. I've also done my shockwave therapy. I've also done a couple of diploma courses within the psychiatric and psychological courses. So yeah, basically, long story short, doctor, do a lot of psychiatric work, do a lot of psychiatric primary care based work, and I also do a lot of epidemiological work. So, Vance, before I pass back the mic, I heard that the boys from CNB are on board today, and I would like to
I
give
think,
a shout out to them.
yes, I think a lot of viewers are right now in. I mean, from because right now
Nice.
Kopi Rants has become a little viral, so a lot of people are joining in this talk show to actually to view us as well. So thank you, everyone. Um, so, Doc, I mean, before we even start this topic itself, I think it's very crucial why we wanted to do this topic, because you know that before you take it over, I think we are going to speak into three aspects of today's topic, which is of course the sports related steroids and drugs, and we are also going to talk about medicine, because medicine is also a drug. Yes, it is, and of course the
Poison.
main yes, and
Yeah.
another issue is, of course, I think it's always a pressing issue that illegal drugs that is been in Singapore or even in every other country is also having the same problem. But before we even go on, I know I'm repeating this again. I think I would love to give great appreciation and very thankful to our founding father, LKY, sir,
Oh,
because when, in order for nations to be in a tip-top condition, I think the people, in terms of their characters, in terms of their attitude, if there's an issue with a substance, I think that will affect the country, affect the family, and affect the economy as well. So I think the forefathers and whoever the founding fathers, back then, all together, I think they did a fantastic job. So a great appreciation to them for bringing Singapore where it is. All
Vance,
right,
can I
doctor.
just say,
So
God rest his soul,
the next, yeah, please go ahead. Please go
Mr.
ahead.
Lee Kuan Yew. Yeah, no, I said God rest
Yeah.
his soul, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. I remember him. I used to follow. I read his book. I have a lot of his material, and one of the beautiful things he has mentioned in the past that this will be a cause of breaking up of the family and a destruction of countries. Today, you go anywhere in the world, everybody is saying that, and Mr. Lee Kuan Yew has mentioned this very very long time ago, and I hold it very close to my heart because I know that I read all his books, and I see he's a man with vision, and I was very happy to come on board. Especially, I know that his vision of having CNB, having a lot of other materials, and I keep progress with a lot of CNB work, and I notice that they are doing a fantastic job. But you know, one thing you can never do about drug or substance abuse is there is always something to do. You can never do enough. There's still something else to do, and I think that was how Mr. Lee Kuan Yew brought Singapore up, and it's a fantastic way. I think we should reach out to a lot of people, and your viewers are a good set of people to actually start this whole recovery plan. Yeah.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you. I mean, it is very indeed is a blessing to look into back in the history as well. What exactly has happened? I think is very important. Who we are right now is based on who actually grew us back then, right? Who are our forefathers? I think it's great appreciation. Doctor, let's jump into the topic because I know we today our session is actually almost less than 30 minutes or even close to 40 minutes because I know we got appointments up. Let's get the ball rolling started, doctor. I mean, let's talk about the performance drug related to the sports. I mean, we have three segments here. So each segment we are going to take only about 8 minutes, unfortunately,
Mhm.
because of the time given. So we're going to jump into the sports, and then we go into the medicine drugs, and also we're going to go into the last part, which is the illegal drugs. And why
Right.
we need to understand all this is because all these three aspects can actually cause reverse adverse results. So it's very, very dangerous and very crucial. Also affects the mental wellness and mental resilience as well, like what Dr. Arvinder says. So, Dr. Arvinder, I'm going to give you the mic back to you. So we're going to start
Thanks.
up with the sports aspect first, Doctor.
Right. So it's very interesting to talk about substance abuse in sports. When I did my diploma in football medicine, there were about, I think, 15 modules. They had one specific module, full blown module on drug abuse.
Mm,
And it's a very fine line, especially in sports, because if you think about it, everyone can play sports. You have asthmatics who are playing sports, you have diabetics who are playing sports. So there are a lot of different things that can occur. Now, in sports, whenever they talk about substance abuse, it may not necessarily mean illegal drugs, something to give an age which is illegal, but it can be just normal utilized drugs that actually gives an edge of a person, of a person over another athlete, or an athlete over another athlete. So in the past, how asthmatics, we always use puffs, inhalers. So there is only a certain amount of inhalers which we actually can use for sports, for sports drugs, and it cannot exceed a certain amount. So everybody thinks that sports drugs means or abuse in sports, or illicit substance in sports is basically taking medicine. No, there
mm,
are so many other different substances which can actually be done in which are being done in sport, which you have to be very careful about. It has to be under a physician's prescription. It has to be at certain times. It has to be reported. It's a very complicated subject. But the most important thing is, you know, there are cyclists, there are famous cyclists in this world who was actually caught, or for having a greater, how shall I put it, a greater advantage over their athletes, because they used to donate their blood in a packet, keep it for 3 months, and 2 weeks or a week before the cycling event, they transfuse back their own blood into their system. Now, that doesn't sound anything wrong, right? If you go and tell a layman, hey, that's nothing, what? It's my own blood. I'm taking it out. In another 3 months, I'm putting it back. So what's wrong with that? But in sports, it's called blood doping. So that is also another type of doping, or drugs or illegal use, not really a substance abuse, but it's another type of doping which comes under sports drugs, that is also illegal. So whenever we say when we say substance abuse, there's a big umbrella to it. There is substance which you can actually abuse. That means there are certain substances which can be used for normal medicines which are abused, and then you have illegal substances which are used, and then you have certain medication that can give you added advantage in sports terms. So Vince, I also understand that you do a lot of sports as well. You do a lot
Yeah.
of training as well. Do you actually see a lot of people who come in to you who have actually attempted to use this type of sports drugs?
See, Doc, I think it's a very, very interesting topic right now. I don't believe anything that is additional value into it, even supplementations, all right? When we talk about this illegal supplementation, it can be anything related to anything. We can call it as steroids, diuretics, lasics, or even anabolic steroids and kind of stuff. I mean, of course, we are not putting any sports down at this point of juncture, but I think we don't want to mention any kind of particular sports, all right? I think it's very healthy just because of a couple of few bad eggs. We can't say the whole tray of eggs is not sellable, right? I mean, if
Agreed.
unfortunately you got to buy the 40 eggs and only one or two eggs is there, you can't say that. So we're not going to mention any sports name or sports related, but I think there's a lot of things that's going on around the world, not only in Singapore but around the world is going on. That is why a lot of dopings are happening. But what I do see in the trend is it's also giving a lot of effects or harms to the body. All right. I'll give you an example, Doc. I mean, there's a particular substance called clanbuterol. All right. It is
Yep.
actually widely used by ENT doctors, which is the respiratory system. They have a very acute respiratory, or we call it the bronchial tubes, which actually spasm of it. And the only way, I'm
Mm.
sure, Doc, you practice that, right? I mean, for your patients. So when it taken at a certain amount, the heart rate is raised up artificially, so
Yep.
you can actually go into a cardiac arrest just by taking that, by increasing a little, maybe a little bit more than what is usual. You can actually lose weight, but you can also lose your life. So there's a
Yep.
lot of things that is happening in the sports industry, whether it can be any kind of sports that we talk about, because sometimes I think it's also related to the mental resilience or mental awareness or mental addiction, I would call it. As I'm doing currently a psychology in a particular course, I think there are very, very interesting topics that we are actually going through. What I've seen, sometimes is the anxiety that they want to get the result fast. Oh, I want to lose 20 kg, or I want to look like a model. Can you imagine someone who's not been in that kind of particular shape, and then suddenly the people change into a perfect model? Something must have run wrong, right? But
Gone wrong.
if
Yep.
in general the body is never made or never been able to do that, but it requires a couple of years, a lot of hard work, dedication, commitment to go into that kind of stage. So in fact, if you ask me, there's no one should be taking any fat burners or any kind of substances or steroids, whether you want to put on some muscle or you want to lose some weight. I think everybody should not go into this aspect, even though it's very temptation is there to get quick results. But I think it's very, very dangerous, because anything that is quick, it will go quicker away than what you can think of. So it should be away from the sports aspect, and that is my take, doctor.
Vance, you mentioned something very interesting there. The World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, has actually mentioned that the one which you're talking about, salmeterol, which is a long-acting beta agonist, which actually opens up the lungs, which you can actually breathe better. But a lot of people don't realize that that itself causes anxiety. That itself can raise your heart rate. It can cause false anxiety. And a lot of people take this Lasix, which you have mentioned, is called furosemide, to actually lose weight, but they don't realize that if they go and they go on a day and they consume a lot of water, they're actually going to put on back that weight. It's only drying them up, and it's a very unhealthy thing, especially in athletes. So it can actually reduce and endanger their lives, actually well.
I know, doctor. I mean, like I said, it's we don't want to mention any sports name, but I think it is not widely been used, but I think there is been abuse. And this topic actually caught our attention, and that's why me and Dr. Arvinder wanted to bring this topic as well. This topic is, we are going to go into a series segments. One series we definitely cannot talk this over, because I know there's a lot of few questions that came up as well. We got different agencies to get involved as well to do more things coming up. But doctor, let's move on to the next aspect is of course the medicine drugs. I mean, we even talked about Panadols or certain cough syrups. All these are being abused right now. You can't go to the shelf or you can't go to the pharmacy and say, hey, can I have a cough syrup? No, you have got to see the doctor first. Why
Yeah.
is that being changed? And how do people know that, hey, this causes drowsiness? Is it because doctor says that, hey, don't take this too much, you get drowsiness, and then people start doing that?
No, I think Vance, you brought up a very good point. Prescription practices have come into play and enforced very strictly. In fact, in Singapore, I remember when during one of my visits before, my frequent visits to Singapore, even before the pandemic, they are very, very strict and regulated, especially in pharmacies. Don't talk about anything else. There are very few drugs which are available over the counter, which is a good thing. But I think it comes to the point that people put two and two together. Some people consume the syrup and then they have that sensation of euphoria or the sensation of drowsiness, and they start abusing it. Now, Vance, let's not talk about someone taking cough medicine to actually become high. Some people, they take it just to go to get drowsy and to fall asleep. So that itself is a substance abuse. So you have a lot. There are a few different types of substance abuse within medicine. You have legal drugs which are actually abused. You have illicit drugs which are abused. You have performance enhancement drugs. You have sexual enhancement drugs. There's so many different drugs. Like, for example, there are certain pills that help men with erectile dysfunction, but there are people without erectile dysfunction who decide to take it, and when they take it with certain substances like alcohol, they endanger their lives. So the thing is, and why exactly that you mentioned that you need a prescription practice is because if you go and see a doctor and you're going to take it, the doctor will say, hey guy, you know what, you're going to take this, no problem, but please, you need this medication, that's why I'm prescribing it to you, but please do not take it with A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Because the moment you say that, at least the patient knows. Now, the problem with drug abuse and substance abuse, you're not going to go to a doctor, the doctor is not going to give it to you. You go to a pharmacist, the pharmacist is not going to give it to you because they're all bounded by the strict laws. So you're going to get it off the street. Now, there are two problems there. You get it off the street, which I know is not easy, but it happens that when you get something off the street, first of all, are you getting something which is actually, how shall I put it, it is certified, or whether it is regulated? Because there are many drugs which are produced in different countries which are not recognized in this country because of the byproducts within it. That itself can be a problem. Number two is, you're taking it for the right indication. Are you taking it for the right indication? Number three, when you're taking it, are you taking it correctly? Are you taking it with any other substance? Maybe it may not be the thing which you're taking it with. You are on some other medication and you're taking it, and that is making your current condition become worse. So these are all substance abuse, and these are substances which are taken without a prescription that causes a problem.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you for that. But I think also as we move on to different topics in this today's substance abuse itself, I think the one of the most very interesting, and I think it's very very important to watch over this. I think is also abuse of even prescribed drugs by doctors, especially. Even there are many cases where people overdose with certain drugs, and then it becomes like a liver failure, or even cardiac arrest as well. Even such thing
Kidney
as
failure.
basic, yeah, kidney failures and kind of stuff. So I think it's a very very important that we should not abuse all these drugs that's actually supposed to help us. The same there's a saying, doctor, I like to quote this, right? The same water that we drink, the same sea or the water can also drown us. So I think it's very very crucial. Again, I like to mention that we have to take priority. We got to make some a little sense to ourselves, right? Do not try and do something and abuse it.
The most
Yes,
accurate
doctor.
one is one man's medicine is another man's poison. That's exactly
There
what
you
we're talking
go.
about today.
Yes, doctor. Uh, okay, we are going to go to the third segment. I know we are just going to do basic introduction today, and I know more series is going to come up, which is of course in Singapore. I think it's always a challenge of preventing our guys, the guys who from the CNB are doing a great job to protect our children, our families, all to be in safe and sound while we sleep. But I think it is something that always have to be watchful in a 24-hour cycle, because our youngsters, our youth are the next leaders. It has to be passed down. We have to follow a certain criteria. We have to be certain vigilant as well. We can't be saying that no crime means low crime means there's no crime, right?
Exactly.
So we're going to go into this segment, doctor, but I think it's also basically to do with addiction that one wants to try. Maybe we want to cover that a little bit on drugs, like, which is totally damages you and your mind and your body. Maybe we can start up with the pills, and then slowly we go into those hardcore stuffs.
Sure. So I just want to give a brief, our viewers a brief outlook of what is currently happening. Now in Singapore in 2021, there, we noticed that there was actually a declining trend of drug abuse within Singapore. Now to just, I mean, I can throw figures and all, but just to give you a perspective of it, 6 in every 10,000 Singaporeans have a substance abuse issue. Now, 2 in every 10,000 are new substance abuse people. All right. Now, the worrying part is if you look at it, 3 in 5 are actually less than 30. And if you look at the age of 20 to 29, about 41% of them account for new drug users. And 60 and above is about, you go about 14%. But if you look at the drug abuse and the substance abuse breakdown, 69% of them take illicit drugs like methamphetamine. All right. So 4 in 5 of new drug abusers in Singapore actually use methamphetamine. Of course, you have the heroines and the other illicit drugs which are taken. But what I would like to say is that the reasons for taking these methamphetamines, of course, some of them just take because they want to try it out. They want to look cool. Their friends are taking it, which is all wrong. You shouldn't be even doing that or considering that. Some of them do it for different reasons. Some of them want to stay awake for long hours. Some of them, they go into maniac symptoms. And this is all related to how do you actually identify. So I think, Vance, you know that my entire way of actually approaching this is I see the problem, then I tell you why it is that, and then it becomes easier. So a lot of people want to lose weight these days, and they go and read, and internet is freely available, and then you come and see that, oh, methamphetamine, those people who take methamphetamines, there is a chance that they can actually reduce their appetite, and then they go for methamphetamines, not knowing that first of all it's a legal drug to be actually abused. All right, and it's a type of substance abuse. It's a drug that can actually be abused. So these type of things. But imagine, Vance, I'm talking to you like that. Even some adults may have problem understanding what we are talking about, even though it's broken up. So that is why I like the Central Narcotics Bureau, who have actually approached this in two different ways. Now, for kids from 5 to 8 years old, they have actually decided to have activity books, play cards, which is freely downloadable. And I remember, if I'm not mistaken, that 13 to 16-year-olds, they actually have got comics to actually help, which is a very good thing. But what we actually need to do more than this, additional to help, you want the 6 in 10,000 to come down to at least 1 in 10,000 or even 0 in 10,000 if it's better, is basically to teach people and identify them that, look, how do you know that someone is having substance abuse without seeing them actually abusing the drug? The most important thing, so things like methamphetamines when they take, which is common in Singapore, is you find that the person has something like bipolar disorder. Bipolar meaning they're not diagnosed bipolar before. Suddenly you see one day they can be so active, they can do the job of 5 people, they can run, do this, do that. One day they will even struggle to write their own name on a piece of paper. That is how different the moods can be. And then you will find that person suddenly losing weight, suddenly not having no mood for anything. And because methamphetamine actually reduces the appetite, so you will find that suddenly this is all happening. And then you have drugs like heroin where people will start hallucinating, which is a problem. And these are the few things which we can actually spot on and then get them help.
Doctor, I think in this topic as well, you said, very beautifully. I think it is very crucial. All right. It's not only just because of the safe of our children. for the economy and also for people to be in the right frame of mind. We do know, of course, again, we don't go into controversials. We don't want to talk about countries. We don't want to name anything. I mean, in certain part of the country, I mean, in the world, we do see, it can actually not only harm the family, but you become a burden to the society. And due to that, um, a lot of crime rates goes up. So it's actually a waterfall. We thought that the problem from the top falls down, but no. But when the water falls from below, they didn't know that there is another water flow coming down. So crime rates are going up. A lot of abuse cases coming in, a lot of violence coming in. So you see, doc, within the drug substance itself, it doesn't only harm your body, but it harms everyone and your loved one. But I think one important thing is what is happening to within their mind is the addiction is happening, and the moment they don't get it, they become a monster. They
Yep.
become not human. So maybe we can touch the last part of this before we come to the conclusion, which is
So,
the mind. The mind is such
right.
a playground. All right, if you can't be the captain of the ship just wander in the sea. Maybe doc, maybe we could just talk a little bit why the substance actually controls the mind and becomes so addictive and takes so period of time with loved ones and rehabilitations, and so much of effort goes on, and then they come out from it. We have seen successful people talking to us on this kind of aspect of issues before, that they went through hell and they crawl out of hell to heaven. What actually is happening inside, doc? I mean, what is inside? I mean, we know that we are both in the psychology, but I would love to ask you this question, doctor.
if you remember the movie Dangerous Minds, Michelle Pfeiffer uses a line which I like to use, that the mind and the brain is like a muscle. The more you train it, the better it becomes. But if you abuse it, it gets abused as well. So, like I mentioned about methamphetamine, that when a person takes, they get high euphoria. When they take morphine, there is some amount of euphoria. Now, the problem is whenever there is a high euphoria rate, which is induced, they say the bigger they are, the harder they fall. So what happens is when it goes up and then suddenly there is a crash, the person feels very depressed. They feel um, lost. They feel that there is a loss of sensation, that their world is over. So they want to get back to that high. So what happens is they tend to take it again and again and again to have that sensation of euphoria. That is where it becomes an addiction. So the brain now recognizes it, that hey, if I take that, this happens. So that is why, as exactly why you brought up of crime rates and a lot of abuse, is because people tend to want to go into that euphoria, and they will do anything they can to actually go back into that euphoria. That is why I always tell people, how it destroys the society and family is, it is never easy to see a loved one with withdrawal effects. It is the most painful thing to see. Even as a doctor, when you see your patients undergoing withdrawal effects, you can even go into tears, because I have seen patients who I know them, after taking drugs, they come with saliva drooling, they can't speak properly, but they are in a euphoric state. Now the family can't see that. Now tomorrow, if they give up their drugs, what happens is, they which is a good thing. You're supposed to give up drugs, but for a couple of days, they will definitely have the side effects. That is why they need to go into centers for people to encourage them, like how you said, people to encourage them, to help them, to ensure that they are successfully stopping. So what it does to the mind is, it creates a false impression, it creates a false euphoria, it creates a false world of their own, and they want to stay in that world. And unfortunately, it's going to damage them, it's going to damage their bodies, and it's going to be long-term damage. It's a terrible thing to happen to anyone.
Thank you, doctor. I mean, it's very interesting. Like I'm. If you notice today, I'm just keep on saying interesting, crucial, interesting, crucial. I keep on saying that. I can't echo as what you have said it, but uh, the mind is such a wonderful, amazing mechanism. If you learn how to control it, it gives you what you want. But the moment you let your mind controls you, it destroys you to the extreme. So I think it is what you have actually mentioned it, and it's so beautifully on this segment. I mean, we will love to talk about these hours and hours and hours, but as like what we said, we always have a schedule, and we always want to keep within a short period of time. I mean, the whole ultimate goal of copy events is, of course, to create awareness, to create exposure. In the same time, if you learn back and take it back and share with someone, I think that's very good. So we covered in three aspects. One is the sports, one is in the medicine, and another one is, of course, the society in terms of drugs and illegal drugs and kind of stuff. I think any of those, I think we should be, especially medicine. Only guy can tell you you can take this drug is a doctor, because these guys spend years and years of studying. After graduation, they're still studying and studying. I think for doctors, education, I think there's never an end.
That's why in
I've
medicine
never
we
met.
call it a practice, bro. We call it a
Yeah,
practice. You're never perfect.
the practice medicine. So I mean, I've never come across any doctor. I mean, copy events for the past 2 years have saying that, oh, I have graduated, I'm dead. Never. Somehow or other, something is something new. Like just like the COVID-19 mutation, it just happening constantly, and the guys back in research keep on doing constantly. So it's human versus the invisible opponent that's always fighting. So I think it is a constant challenge of education. Doctor, thank you so much. I'm sure this is just one part of the series. I'm very sure there are more series going to come in, and we're going to go into details. We're also going to talk about the mental resilience. I think that's very important because I believe, Doc, I think everything comes with a curiosity. Everything comes of trying. If like, oh, he's doing it, I also want to do it. But if we can train our mind to be in a different state of resilience and able to be maintaining it in a certain way that you're able to do, which is, of course, we talk about hormones, we talk about other secretions that's happening in your body, like your mind, your heart, and your gut. If somehow or other, if we can able to manage this, I think all these problems we can stay away from that. Even including us, we can stay away from that. Even when we talk about alcohol can be addiction. Smoking also can be an addiction, which is an addiction. So I'm very sure we are going to talk all about that. Doc, any last advices before we end today's Kopi events?
That is why mental health is absolutely important. You actually can train your mind to be happy without the usage of drugs. So it can all be done without the usage of any drugs. And I think mental health has a very big component, is a very big important thing. At the end of the day, we want everybody to be healthy physically and also mentally. And Vance, before I leave, I would like to say happy belated birthday to Singapore. I was not on the show before Singapore's birthday.
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday
Thank you.
to all of you guys. You guys have been very kind to me. Thank you so much. Stay
Thank
safe.
you, Doctor. I mean, I know it's Melicia's birthday as well, so happy birthday to Melicia as well.
Oh, thank you.
We are end of the day, we are brothers. We are brothers.
We
Okay,
are brothers and sisters. Yep,
causeway
of
is
course.
there. Just because vehicles are not moving in and out doesn't mean that the relationship stops, right? It's back then
Soon,
the
soon,
history
bro.
and
Soon.
till now. It is one, but it's just that we are brothers with a
Yep.
distance. That's it about it. All right, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining at Kopi Events. I will catch you up soon again and signing you off right now. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, bro. Okay, bye. See
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Bye bye. Okay, so that's Dr. Arvinder, who is a regular speaker in Kopi events. Always comes with the different topics that we choose for, and in fact, he just came back from his duties as currently in Malaysia. A lot of cases are going up, so he's doing extra duties as well, and he has particularly taken some time. So that's why we do not want to go more than 30 minutes. But this topic doesn't just ends here because we plan to do it on a series basis. So today, if we look at it, it is just less than 35 minutes. More series is going to come in, and we're going to go into more details on substance abusers and drugs in world and Singapore as well. All right, for now, I'm signing you off. I'm signing you. I am signing off. This is Vance. For now, ciao. Bye bye.